check out shadowwarriorsproject.org, shadowwarriorsproject.org, and it helps men and women and families who get killed or injured, contractors who do this work. Most of them are former combat veterans, and we can't win these battles and can't protect this country without them. Mark Geist, even though we have 9 or 10 minutes, I've got a couple of quick questions for you, but they're important, I think. Why the delay in getting from the annex to the compound? Were you guys told to stand down?
Yes, Tig was told directly to stand down from the chief of base, and then Tonto was told to wait twice. I mean, the wait is a matter of semantics. I guess that's the same as don't go. And the reason is the chief of base, he had done this before, and it's more that he was probably risk-averse and more afraid of us exposing ourselves or worry, and what his reasons are, I'm not sure, but he seemed, from my professional experience, he seemed to be a very risk-averse person.
Apparently he's very defensive about this, Mark, at this point.
Yeah, he is, and it's understandable in the sense that there were 2 lives that were lost, potentially could have been made different, at least their lives may not have been lost, had we left earlier. So you're going to be defensive, and it's totally understandable that he might have that regret and not want to admit that.
Yep. I want to ask you another question. There you are, you're in the middle of battle. How long did this fight go on for, these various waves coming?
Well, as the title of the book and the movie, 13 Hours, is...
So let me ask you this. For 13 hours this is going on, didn't you expect to get a little bit of backup?
And each one of us feels a little bit different. Me personally, doing what I do, and for as many years as I've done it, for the various people I've done it for, I don't. I'm expendable. I'm just a guy that's how I feel. Now, the fact that we had a U.S. ambassador that had been missing, he was not known to be alive or dead for about 6 hours. For him, that's different. I think I guess I could put it in terms of it was me who asked my guys to be out there, or my ambassador to be out there, who's not a combat guy. I'm putting him in harm's way. And they lost him, or he couldn't be found for 6 hours, I would move heaven and earth to find him. I mean, he's the direct representative of the President of the United States.
Do you, in your talks with your friends and your colleagues and other people there, do you know if SOS in effect went out? It went out to a lot of people, and nothing happened, right?
Yeah, I know, the one thing I do know is we asked for support, and at that point we were in the middle of a firefight. So where it went from there, I don't know. Do I believe that the people that we worked with that were inside the building, that they put that out? Yes, I do. And I'm sure that it did. And, outside of that, I knew at that point when we were in the firefight that there was 5 guys that I could depend on and the good Lord above to be there when I needed them. I wasn't
tell everybody.
I didn't know otherwise.
Tell everybody what injuries you sustained, because it looked. I mean, and I've read, obviously, incredibly severe.
Like I said, 3 mortars hit within 15 feet of me. The kill radius of any one of those is 21 feet, which means if you're within 21 feet, 99% chance you're going to die. 3 of them hit near me. I had my left arm almost severed completely off. I got hit in the neck, chest. I still have 3 pieces of metal in my chest. Got hit in the abdomen. I had a piece of shrapnel about 1 millimeter from my femoral artery, and about another 15 or 20 holes in various parts of my body that were more superficial, I guess, than anything.
And the people in the consulate building, they immediately tried to take good care of you, and they saved your life in there, didn't they?
Well, the first one that saved my life was Tig, because he came up on the roof with total disregard for his own safety. I mean, before the dirt and the debris from the last mortar had even settled, and he was able to get a tourniquet on my arm, which is probably what saved my life. And he also got 2 tourniquets on Dave Ubin, who was a State Department guy, who had shrapnel in his forehead, and his arm and leg were both of them were almost severed off. And Tig's the one who deserved the biggest amount of credit. And then when I got inside the building, I had to kind of direct people to get my clothes off and start checking things, and the female case officer and a couple of the others did a real great job taking care of me and making sure that they got all the bleeding. What bleeding didn't get stopped with the tourniquet, they got the rest of it stopped.
If you don't want to answer this, you don't have to. Hillary Clinton and the president went on about this online film and that there were protests, and that's what caused all this ruckus. Now, we know that wasn't true. What do you think about that?
I was laying in a hospital bed in Germany when I first started hearing that. At that point in time, I didn't care. I mean, I was more worried about healing and getting well than anything. I knew the people that tried to kill us, they didn't have, banners and posters. They had AKs, RPGs, mortars, and grenades, and that's what they were trying to do, is kill us. And typically that's not my experience with protests that I've been involved around and seen throughout the Middle East.
And yet they persisted in this argument about this guy who did this tape. He went to prison for a year or so, give or take. It was pretty incredible. A lot of Americans didn't believe it immediately. Said, "What? They don't really need a protest to attack us. They don't really need a video to attack us." I mean, they hit you on 9/11. They knew the ambassador was there. That's what happened, right?
Yeah, I firmly believe that. I was out in town that night, like I said, on a dinner date. Didn't see anything that would be indicative of a protest. Typically, from my experience, being in and out of the Middle East for almost 30 years, off and on for 30 years, if there's going to be a protest, what you see is gathering of small groups of people in at street corners, spread out around where the actual protest is going to take place. And then, through social media, somebody gets a text and says, "Hey, let's get together," and then they all come together. Well, that night, you didn't see anybody out. I mean, it almost had an eerie calm to it.
Mm-hmm. So how are you doing now, physically and so forth?
It's as good as can be expected. I've had 14 surgeries. My last one was about a little bit over a year ago. And, through countless hours of physical therapy, still dealing with the after effects of a TBI and, things like that. But can't complain. I mean, my arm's attached. They've done a wonderful job. The doctors at Walter Reed, Bethesda Medical Hospital, the doctors at the Air Force Academy who helped take care of me, and all the other doctors, they did a wonderful job, and they really got my hand almost back to better than what I ever thought it would be, I guess is the best way to put it.
Mm-hmm. And this movie's fairly accurate, correct?
Yeah, it is. When we first started pitching the movie or the book to get it to a movie, we pitched it to a bunch of the studios, but there was only one that had the courage to do the movie, and I think they saw what we wanted out of it. And what we really wanted to do was just tell the truth about what happened as we lived it that night from our perception. Somebody else may have a different perception of events as they took place, but this is how we lived it, and this is the account of 5 separate individuals from throughout the night. And, we were blessed with being involved in the screenwriting, consulted on set design, and actually spent time on set, actually standing behind Michael Bay looking over his shoulder, and him, turning back and saying, "Hey, what do you think of this? Is this a good shot? Do you think this is how it looked?" And, that was really kind of a blessing to be that involved with it.
Well, I want you to know, whether you consider yourself a hero or not, what you did was incredible. Most people obviously wouldn't and aren't capable of it. I know you've trained your whole life for this sort of thing, but still. And just do me a favor, you and the others, tell them that I and my millions of listeners greatly appreciate it and admire you all.
Well, thank you so much, Mark. And, to the listeners, thank you all for the support over the last few years, keeping this story out there and following us and believing us. And as you said, me and my wife had started a nonprofit because of the events that had happened and the dealings that we had to deal with. And what we found is that for those private security contractors that work in the shadows, they don't have a voice. And their families don't have a voice because of who they work for. And we started this program to give them that voice in when they get injured and to be able to help take care of them so they don't have to struggle through some of the hard times that me and my wife did. And just ask people to check out the website, read up on us, and if you feel compelled to give something, give it, knowing that you're going to be helping out some guys that are going to be downrange and are giving their all so we can have what we have here.
ShadowWarriorsProject.org, ShadowWarriorsProject.org. And how are you guys, real quickly? Have you, with all the medical costs, we know insurance doesn't cover everything, and we know the government doesn't cover everything. You guys okay?
Yeah, we are. We were actually blessed with the fact that, and I think it's not typical of your contractor, but because of the severity of my injuries and the fact that it was Benghazi and getting the notoriety, in essence, it was almost like they re-enlisted me in the military for my medical. Nothing else. I didn't get paid or anything like that, but the military took care of all of my medical. So I had some of the best doctors in the world who have been dealing with a lot of these amputations or near amputations, be able to put my arm back together and sew the rest of me back up too. So from that standpoint, they did, that was very good. But that's outside of the insurance, and that is outside of the normal circumstance of how things happen with your average contractor.
All right. Well, Mark, Geist, Oz, we greatly appreciate you taking the time. ShadowWarriorsProject.org. God bless you and good luck to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mark.
And thank you. We appreciate it. You got to see the movie 13 Hours. You'll know then, or read the book, or both. You'll know then who I was talking to. Remarkable man.